Hey, welcome to the briefing. What I'm going to cover with you today is this. Before you trust the on-hand, look at the next missed order. I want to take this one into logistics, because logistics has a way of making a number feel like the truth. The WMS says the inventory is there. The order screen shows coverage. The planner sees available quantity. Customer service wants to confirm the promise. Transportation wants to know if the load is good. The warehouse needs to release the next wave. And when the system says the product is available, the pressure is simple. Move, release the wave, build the pick plan, confirm the order, protect the dock schedule, tell the customer the shipment is covered. That is how logistics moves. Timing matters, flow matters, throughput matters, carrier windows matter, store replenishment matters, customer promises matter. The whole operation depends on motion. But here's the part that gets expensive. Movement built on a weak inventory signal is not control. It is a future miss waiting for the next order to expose it. That is what I want to focus on in this briefing. The on-hand number matters. The system matters. The WMS matters. The scans matter. The transactions matter. No serious logistics leader should ignore the system. But the system does not protect the operation by itself. The record is only as strong as the receiving discipline, put-away accuracy, pick confirmation, damage control, transfer reconciliation, cycle count quality, and exception handling behind it. And if those signals are weak, the number may look cleaner than the operation really is. That is where leaders get pulled into trouble. The screen shows enough. The order looks covered. The customer wants confidence. The picker has not hit the location yet. The dock plan is already being built. And everyone is acting like the inventory is ready because the system says it exists. Then the truth shows up late. A short pick, a missing pallet, a damaged case, a reserve location that was never confirmed, a receiving exception that never closed clean, a staged order that was pulled back but not reconciled, a returned item sitting in inspection, product that is in the building, but not actually available to promise. That is the difference. Inventory can exist and still not be shippable. Inventory can be received and still not be put away. It can be put away and still not be confirmed. It can be confirmed and still be in the wrong location. It can be picked and still not deducted. It can be staged and still not shipped. It can be damaged and still not blocked. It can be returned and still not inspected. It can be in the system and still not be ready for the customer. That distinction matters. Long-range observation is the tool here, and I'm not going to turn this into a formal lesson. Think of it simply as looking past the current inventory screen and asking, what does this inventory signal create next? What does it create in the next wave? The next promise, the next load plan, the next replenishment order, the next customer conversation, the next store promotion, the next expedite? Because bad inventory visibility does not always fail the moment the number is wrong. It fails when the next order depends on that number. Picture a regional distribution center. We will call the outbound supervisor Marcus. His facility supports specialty retail stores and direct-to-customer fulfillment across several states. The building handles fast-moving accessories, replacement parts, seasonal kits, and high-priority replenishment for key store locations. So this is not slow inventory sitting quietly in a back corner. This is active product. Product that feeds store execution, customer promises, weekend promotions, and replenishment windows. The building is already busy. Inbound freight has been uneven for 2 weeks. Receiving is working through late trailers. Inventory control has open exceptions from misscans, damaged cartons, and location discrepancies. Outbound volume is rising because several stores are preparing for a weekend promotion. Transportation has already built pickup windows. Customer service is pushing for confirmation because store leaders want assurance that replenishment will arrive before the weekend. Now it is Wednesday afternoon. The WMS shows enough on-hand inventory for a priority SKU. The number looks clean. The order can be released, the wave can be built, the customer can be promised. The load plan can stay intact, and the first move feels obvious. Trust the on-hand and keep the operation moving. That move has logic. The warehouse cannot stop every time someone has a question. The customer needs an answer. The dock needs flow. Pickers need work released. Transportation cannot sit around waiting for perfect confidence. Logistics is built around action, but Marcus has seen several warning signs. 2 short picks hit the same product family earlier in the week. A late inbound trailer included the same SKU, but receiving has not closed the exception. A damaged case was moved to the hold area, but the inventory status may not have been updated. A reserve location was replenished yesterday, but the confirmation scan came after cutoff. A previous order for the same customer was staged, then partially pulled back for a correction. The system says the product is available. The operation is giving a weaker signal. That is the moment that matters, not because Marcus should freeze the building, not because he should distrust every number, not because every open exception means the order cannot move. The issue is sharper than that. Is this inventory signal strong enough to support the next promise? That is the leadership question. If Marcus only looks at the on-hand number, he moves. If he uses long-range observation, he looks at what that number will create next. Now let's slow the read down. The visible issue is simple. The system shows enough inventory, the order is waiting, the wave needs to be released, customer service wants confirmation, transportation wants load status, the dock schedule is already in motion. At this layer, the obvious move is to proceed, release the wave, commit the order, let the pickers work. Keep the dock plan clean, protect throughput. But the current screen is not the whole future. The screen tells Marcus what the system believes right now. It does not always tell him whether the product is physically present, usable, reachable, pickable, shippable, and promise ready. Those are different conditions. A pallet in receiving is not the same as product in a pickable location. A case in the damage cage is not the same as product ready for a priority order. A replenishment move in process is not the same as a clean forward pick face. A transfer stage near the dock is not the same as reconciled inventory. A short pick is not just noise if the same SKU family keeps showing location drift. That is why the leader has to look around the signal. Short picks, receiving exceptions, damage hold, unconfirmed putaway, stage product correction, promotion pressure, customer promise, carrier schedule. Now the number reads differently. The question becomes, what current inventory signal am I trusting, and what future order will depend on it? That is the turn, because if the on-hand is accurate, everything moves cleanly. The wave releases. The pick path holds. The order closes. The load builds. The carrier picks up. The store gets replenishment before the weekend. Customer service looks confident. The distribution center protects the promise. But if the on-hand is wrong, the failure does not stay in inventory control. It travels. The picker hits the location and finds the short. The wave stalls. The supervisor gets pulled into exception handling. Customer service has to walk back the promise. Transportation may lose dock timing. The replenishment becomes a split shipment. The store may need an expedite. The customer starts the promotion short. Inventory control spends the next day reconciling something that should have been blocked earlier. That is the future consequence. The number is not just a number, it is a promise chain. And that promise chain can break fast. I have learned to respect that chain. In logistics, it is very easy to treat the miss as the moment the picker reports the short. But the short pick is often not where the problem started. It is where the problem became undeniable. The signal may have been there earlier, the receiving exception, the weak scan history, the unreconciled damage hold, the location variance, the unconfirmed putaway, the staged order correction, the cycle count that looked small until a customer order needed the quantity. That is the part experience teaches you. The floor usually whispers before it yells. If you ignore the whispers, the customer hears the yell. That is not dramatic language. That is logistics reality. A bad inventory read becomes a pick problem. A pick problem becomes a wave delay. A wave delay becomes a dock issue. A dock issue becomes a transportation change. A transportation change becomes a customer promise problem. A customer promise problem becomes trust loss. Everything moves. Everything connects. Everything depends on the quality of the read. So Marcus asked the harder question. If this number is wrong, who feels it next? The picker feels it first because they find the short at the location. The outbound lead feels it because the wave is interrupted. The supervisor feels it because exception handling starts in real time. Inventory control feels it because reconciliation becomes urgent. Customer service feels it because the promise has to change. Transportation feels it because the load plan may shift. The store feels it because replenishment misses the promotion window. The customer feels it because the operation sounded more confident than it should have. That is not one miss. That is a connected failure. And it started with trusting the on-hand as a full read when it was only a signal. Now, let me be clear. The answer is not to stop the warehouse every time there is a mismatch. That would create a different kind of failure. You cannot run a distribution center like every inventory question is a full investigation. The building has to move, orders have to pick, trailers have to load, customers need answers, throughput matters. Long-range observation is not a reason to freeze. It is a reason to verify before commitment when the signal is weak and the future consequence is high. That is a very different standard. Maybe the order still releases, maybe the priority SKU gets a quick physical verification first. Maybe inventory control blocks questionable quantity before the wave launches. Maybe customer service gives a qualified update instead of a hard promise. Maybe transportation holds firm load confirmation until the priority item is clean. Maybe receiving closes the exception before outbound builds the promise around it. Maybe the replenishment move gets verified in the forward pick location before the wave is released. That is not overthinking. That is protecting the next order from a weak read. And if you have worked around warehouse execution, you know the difference. There is a big difference between slowing the operation down for no reason and taking 2 minutes to prevent 2 days of downstream recovery. There is a difference between checking every SKU like nothing can be trusted and checking the exact SKU that has short picks, open exceptions, damage hold, and a customer promise attached to it. That is the discipline. Not paranoia, not blind trust, verification based on consequence. Now, think about what happens if Marcus ignores the warning signs. He releases the wave. The picker finds the short. The order stops. The team starts searching reserve. Someone checks receiving. Someone checks the hold cage. Someone asks if stage product was deducted. Inventory control starts looking at transactions. Customer service is waiting. Transportation is waiting. A load plan gets changed. The store gets a new answer. The customer hears uncertainty after being promised confidence. Now the building is not moving faster and it is recovering, and recovery is expensive. Recovery burns time, it burns labor, it burns dock flow, it burns credibility, it burns margin if the answer becomes expedite. It burns trust when the customer hears, "We thought we had it." That line is deadly in logistics. We thought we had it. The customer does not care that the system showed quantity if the order does not show up. The store does not care that inventory was technically in the building if it could not be picked and shipped. Transportation does not care that the record looked right if the load has to be rebuilt. Customer service does not care that the quantity was available on screen if they have to walk back the promise. That is why on hand is not enough. Available to promise has to mean the operation can actually support the promise. So what should a logistics leader watch? Watch repeated short picks in the same SKU family. One short pick may be a miss. Repeated short picks are a pattern. Patterns deserve a future read. Watch receiving exceptions tied to priority items. If receiving has not closed cleanly and outbound is already promising the quantity, the building may be promising ahead of the truth. Watch damage hold areas that do not reconcile quickly. Damaged product that is still counted as usable inventory creates false confidence. Watch staged product corrections. Staged is not shipped. Picked is not deducted. Moved is not reconciled. If that distinction gets sloppy, the number starts lying. Watch reserve locations with weak scan history. A location can show inventory and still fail at the moment of pick if putaway confirmation, replenishment, or cycle count discipline is weak. Watch transfers that are physically moved but not system clean. The floor may think product moved. The system may think something different. The order does not care which side was confident. The miss still lands. Watch cycle count variances that get treated as small until a customer order depends on them. A small variance can become a big problem when the remaining quantity is the quantity needed to fulfill the promise. Watch high priority orders released against inventory with open exceptions nearby. That is where long-range observation should wake up, because the future signal is usually not mysterious. Short pick, wave delay, dock rework, load change, split shipment, expedite request, customer escalation, store shortage, inventory reconciliation. Those are not surprises if the warning signs were already present. They are delayed consequences. and logistics leaders have to read delayed consequence before it reaches the customer. Now, if you are leading a warehouse, a distribution center, a fulfillment operation, inventory control, transportation planning, store replenishment, or customer operations, here is the practical read. Before releasing a priority order, confirming a customer promise, building a pick wave, or accepting inventory availability at face value, name the inventory signal first. What is the on-hand quantity? What quantity is available? What location is feeding the order? Is it forward pick, reserve, receiving, hold, transfer? What customer store route or replenishment plan depends on it? Do not argue with the number yet. Name the signal, then check the exception environment. Are there open receiving exceptions, recent short picks, damage holds, unconfirmed putaway, staged product corrections, cycle count variants, transfer timing issues, repeated issues with the same SKU family, weak scan history? That tells you whether the signal is clean enough to support the next decision. Then identify the next promise. Where does this inventory signal travel next? Will customer service confirm the order? Will the wave release? Will transportation build a load? Will a store plan labor or promotion set up around the delivery? Will a customer commit to a timeline? Will another order lose inventory if this one consumes it? The future promise matters because the consequence does not stay in the bin location. Then forecast the missed order signal. What may show up over the next 24 to 72 hours? Short pick, wave delay, dock rework, load change, split shipment, expedite, customer escalation, store shortage, inventory reconciliation. If those outcomes are tied to the signal in front of you, slow the commitment long enough to verify the risk. Then decide what must be verified before commitment. The answer is not always to stop. It may be to physically confirm the priority location, clear the receiving exception, block damaged quantity, reconcile staged product, confirm the replenishment scan, qualify the customer update, hold the firm promise until the priority SKU is clean. That is how you keep movement from turning into rework. Not perfect information, enough verification for the consequence attached to the decision. I want to hit one warning sign hard. If expedites have become normal, the operation may be paying for visibility gaps instead of correcting them. An expedite can be necessary. Sometimes it is the right recovery move. But if expedite becomes the standing answer every time the system and floor disagree, then the building is not solving the issue. It is buying its way out of the miss after the customer already felt the delay. Another warning sign. Customer promises are being made before exception inventory is cleared. That puts customer service in a bad position. They are communicating confidence the operation has not earned yet. Then when the floor tells the truth, customer service has to absorb the trust damage. Another one, short picks are treated like isolated events when they keep clustering around the same SKU, product family, location zone, or inbound flow. That is not random anymore. That is a pattern. And once it is a pattern, leadership has to stop pretending the next order will magically avoid it. Another one, staged product is treated like available product. Staged is not shipped. Staged may still be corrected, pulled back, reworked, split, or waiting on confirmation. If the system does not reflect that cleanly, the on-hand may tell a story the dock cannot support. And one more, the system looks clean, but the floor keeps disagreeing. If pickers, receivers, inventory control, and dock leads keep finding issues around the same items, listen to the floor. The floor may be telling you the record has confidence the operation has not earned. That does not mean abandon the system. It means tighten the signal. Inventory visibility is not just a technology issue. It is an execution issue. It is a transaction issue. It is a discipline issue. It is a promise issue. The WMS can only reflect the discipline behind the transactions. If the scan is wrong, the record is wrong. If damage is not blocked, available quantity gets overstated. If putaway is not confirmed, the location record becomes unreliable. If staged product is not reconciled, the system may still show inventory the floor cannot use. If cycle counts are treated casually, the variance stays hidden until the next order exposes it. Then one day the customer order depends on that record, and the operation calls it a surprise. But it was not a surprise. It was a transaction problem moving downstream. It was a signal that traveled. That is the point. So before you trust the on-hand under pressure, look forward. Ask what the screen is showing. Ask what the floor is telling you. Ask what exception signals are nearby. Ask what promise depends on the number. Ask who feels it next if the number is wrong. Ask what must be verified before the operation commits. That does not slow logistics for no reason. It protects logistics from moving blindly, because the goal is not to distrust the system. The goal is to know when the system signal needs future risk verification before the business makes a promise. The on-hand number matters. It is not the whole read. The next wave matters, the next pick matters, the next load matters, the next replenishment order matters, the next customer promise matters. And if the inventory signal is weak, the next missed order may already be forming. Do not wait for the picker to find the truth after the promise has already been made. Do not let customer service confirm confidence the floor cannot support. Do not let transportation build a load on questionable quantity. Do not let expedites become the tax you pay for weak visibility. Read the exception signals. Verify the priority item. Protect the promise, then move with control. Thanks for listening to the briefing.